thing I see on the back wall is this big Confederate flag. And on my right is this long wooden bar. And behind the bar is this mirror. And scotch taped to the mirror is a picture of Roger Kelly and an article from a newspaper, from the Washington Post. I recognized it because I have the same article. I was collecting all that stuff for, my research. So somebody had cut out this article and posted it on the mirror. So I knew I was in the right place, right? Or the wrong place, depending on how you want to look at it. And over here to the left, just as the guy said, were the row of booths. And there was nobody in the first two booths. Both were empty. There was nobody in any other booths. This is about 7:30 on a Sunday evening. There were only, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 people in the whole place. The bartender, a couple of people sitting at the bar, a couple of people playing pool or something in the back, a couple of people just milling around. So she and I are just standing in the middle of this place, looking out of place and looking stupid, basically. And I'm not looking at everybody. I knew what Roger Kelly looked like. I never met him, but I knew I've seen him on TV. I've seen him in the paper, and wherever else. But I never met him. So I'm looking to see if any one of these people is him. None of them were him. But that did not mean that one of them couldn't be a Klan person. I mean, they all were white. But again, not everybody in Thurmont is in the Klan. So I don't know any Klan people. I mean, I didn't see the guy that I beat up, so he wasn't in there that night. But anyway, I didn't see Roger Kelly. But I drove, a good distance to get up there. I didn't want to leave empty-handed. But I didn't want to just go up to somebody and say, hey, excuse me, sir, are you in the Klan? So I said to Mary, I said, come on, let's go over there and sit in one of those booths. Because if the Klan is in here, they'll come to us to get us out of their booth, right? So, and then, when they come to us, then we can ask about, Mr. Kelly. So we went over there and we sat down in the first booth. And nobody bothered us, no problem whatsoever. And so, we weren't, I was striking out. So I said, come on, let's go sit over at the bar. We'll just chat up somebody sitting there. So we went over, sat at the bar, and I chatted up the guy sitting next to me. I was asking him where the highway was. I was kind of like I was lost, looking for some directions. I wasn't going to say anything about the Klan until, unless he acted negatively or something, then I would bring it up. But he was very nice, gave me directions to where I needed to go, not that I didn't know. And we left. So I failed in my mission to find Roger Kelly that night. Next day is Monday. Mary worked out of my house here. And so she came here. I said, here, this is Roger Kelly's number. Give him a call. Ask him if he would consent to sitting down. Tell him your boss is writing a book on the Klan. Would he consent to sitting down and giving him an interview? However, do not tell him that I'm black. If he asks, don't lie to him, but don't allude to it. Don't give him reason to ask.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I did not want him to know, 2 reasons. One, I figured, that based upon what this other guy told me, Roger Kelly would kill me if I went to his house or whatever. Obviously, he doesn't like black people. That if he knew that I was black, he wouldn't give me the interview. Number two, I could have called him myself because I'm the one who had the phone number. But he might pick up in my voice that I'm black, right? And say, I'm not talking to you, click, hang up the phone. But I knew that he would know that Mary is white by her voice.
Yeah.
And he would not automatically assume that this white woman works for a black man. I know the mentality. And especially a black man who's writing a book on the Klan, because they don't exist. So I was the first one. And so that would up my chances of him saying yes. So if he agrees to do the interview, then he'd figure out that I'm black when he sees me. I want him to see me face to face, and then tell me, no, I'm not going to talk to you, and walk away or whatever. So she understood. So she called him. He didn't ask what color I was. And he agreed to do the interview. He even invited us to his house. But that day, I knew something was going to change that day, so I had to reschedule it. And I said, listen, let's not go to his house. Let's make it in a neutral location. She said, okay. So we decided to do it in the motel above the Silver Dollar Lounge. The lounge was in the bottom of this motel. So Mary and I got the room several hours in advance of the appointment. And I gave her some money to go down the hallway and get soda pop out of the machine and put it in this ice bucket, that's in the room, fill it with ice, get it all cold. Because, I did not know what Mr. Kelly was going to do when he saw me. Would he turn around and walk away? Would he attack me? Would he come in the room and do the interview? Those are the three options, right? But I knew what I was going to do. I was going to be hospitable. I was going to offer my guests a cold beverage, a cold soda. So I got a variety of soda and got it all cold, set the thing on the dresser, and we waited. Right on time at 5:15, it was on Sunday afternoon, there was a knock on the door. And the room just happens to be designed that if you're standing in the hallway, you cannot see who's inside the room. You have to come in the room, go around the corner, and then there's the room, right? So as soon as you walk in the door, the bathroom was right there to the left. And then there's a wall. You got to go around the wall, and there's a room. So I took the lamp table, put it in this far obscure corner of the room, took off the lamp. I put a chair on one side for Mr. Kelly, a chair on this side for me, and I had a black canvas bag beside my chair leg. And in my bag, I had a cassette recorder, which I put in the center of the table, all in hopes that A, he would come in and give me the interview, and B, that he would allow me to record it. And I had some blank cassettes, and I had a copy of the Bible, because the Ku Klux Klan claims to be a Christian organization, and they believe that the Bible preaches racial separation. And they'll show you chapter and verse where it says it, right? According to them. And so I'm all prepared. So Mary, knock on the door, Mary hops up, runs around the corner, opens the door. In walks, official title, Grand Nighthawk. Grand means state, Nighthawk means bodyguard, security, in Klan terminology. So Grand Nighthawk would be the bodyguard for the Grand Dragon, like Imperial Nighthawk is the bodyguard for the Imperial Wizard. In walks this Grand Nighthawk. He's wearing military camouflage. Got that Klan patch on his chest, which is a red circle with a white cross and a red blood drop in the center of the cross. Over here are the letters KKK. Embroidered on his cap, it said Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And he has a semi-automatic handgun in a holster on his side. He comes in, he walks around the corner and sees me at the table. He just freezes. Well, Mr. Kelly is walking right behind him, in a dark blue suit and tie, carrying a briefcase. And he did not realize that this guy had stopped. So when he turned the corner, the guy was stopped right there. Mr. Kelly knocked into his back, knocked him forward. So now they both are stumbling around, tripping around, trying to regain their balance. And they're looking all around the room. And I'm just sitting there at the table, looking at them. And I could read their faces. I knew what was going on. There was a lot of apprehension. I could tell what they were thinking out loud on their faces. Yeah. They were thinking, did the receptionist give us the wrong room number? Did we misunderstand something? Or was this an ambush? So I stood up and I displayed both my palms like this to show I had nothing in my hands. And I walked towards Mr. Kelly and I put out my right hand and I said, "Hi, Mr. Kelly, I'm Daryl Davis." And he shook my hand. And the Nighthawk was actually wearing gloves. He pulled off his gloves and shook my hand. And so far so good. I said, "Come on in, please, come on in. Have a seat." Mr. Kelly sat down, and the Nighthawk stood at attention to his right. And before I could sit down, Mr. Kelly says, "Mr. Davis, do you have any form of identification?" I said, "Sure." Went inside, pulled out my wallet, gave him my driver's license. He started looking at it. He goes, "Oh, you live on such and such street." Now I'm wondering, why is he looking at my address? Is he going to come burn a cross in my lawn? I mean, what's up? Hey, I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking, right? So, that was a little unsettling when all he has to do is look at my picture on my license and my name and look at me and match it up, right? And give me back my license. So I did not want to let him know that he unsettled me a little bit, but I want to let him know under no circumstances was he to come here with, nefarious intentions, right? And so I said to him, "Yes, Mr. Kelly, that is where I live. And you live at," And I named his house number and his street. So that way he knew I knew where he lived. So I was leveling the playing field, right? I was implying, if you come visit me, I might come visit you. So we're going to confine all this visiting to this motel room, right? He smiled, he nodded his head like he understood. I did not find out until months later that I had no reason I was being presumptuous. I had no reason to fear him doing anything stupid. He simply recognized my street name because one of his members lived right down the road here. The street is a bit of a long street. It goes to that neighborhood and then the next neighborhood, and his member lived in the next neighborhood, same street. Or not the same street, but Mr. Kelly had to go down this street to get to the house. So he just recognized the street, pure coincidence. But I had no way of knowing that at the time. So anyway, that member is in a federal prison now for committing a hate crime. He's there for a long time. Anyway, we got on with this interview. And every time Mr. Kelly would say, Mr. Davis, the Bible says, I'd reach down in my bag, pull out my Bible, and hand it to him to show me, I want to see chapter and verse, because that's not my understanding or my interpretation of what it says. And he'd find the chapter and verse, and or my recorder runs out of cassette tape. I'd reach down and get a fresh tape. Every time I reached down, the bodyguard, the Nighthawk, would reach up and put his hand on the butt of the gun. He never pulled it out. He had his hand on the handle. And, that didn't really faze me because, I understood what he was doing. That's his job. His job is to protect his boss. I'm the enemy. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know what's in my bag. So he's doing what he has to do. I got that. I was fine with it. After a little while, maybe 45 minutes, an hour or so, because I was going in and out of the bag, he realized there was nothing in the bag of threat. So he relaxed. I went in and out of the bag, bodyguard didn't move. He didn't do this stuff anymore. A little over an hour into this interview, Mr. Kelly and I are talking, and he and I are closer than you and I are right now. And the table is just a small table, a lamp table like this. And we're sitting right there, and the bodyguard standing there, and Roger Kelly's sitting right there. And we're just talking, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a very fast, very quick, short noise just happened. Like a that was it. Just that quick and gone. But there was no reason for it, and I didn't know what it was. It happened so fast and didn't last long that my ear could not discern what it was. And almost instantly, I flew up out of my chair because I was going to attack him. In that split second, because my ear could not identify it, I feared for my safety.
Yeah.
I feared for my life. And when you fear for your life, you go into what is called survival mode. And there are only a handful of things you can do in survival mode. Some people, they faint, they pass out. Because the fear is so great, the brain cannot process it. And the brain shuts down. And you fall out, you pass out, you faint. I don't do that. Other people, their muscles will constrict. And they'll ball up and they'll tighten and they can't move. They're frozen like this. You've seen people get into a fight and they curl up into a fetal position. People are kicking them, punching them, and they're not even deflecting the blows. They're shaking like that. They can't move. That's called paralysis by fear. I don't do that either. Another thing people will do is to run away. That's exactly what I would have done had it been an option. And that is your best option. If something is scaring the daylights out of you and you fear for your life, then separate yourself from it. Get as far away from it as you can. Run, take off, go somewhere. That was not an option. Like I said, that would have been my choice, but that was not an option for me because how do you outrun a bullet in a motel room? I'm not armed. My secretary is not armed, right? The only person who I know for sure is armed is the Nighthawk. I see his gun. I don't know if Mr. Kelly has a gun up under his suit jacket or not. All I know is I'm not armed. This man has an arm. So, I'm not going to run and get shot in the back or something, right? The last option is to do a preemptive strike. Get them before they get you. And that's what I was going to do. When I came up out of my chair, I was going to dive across that table, grab the Nighthawk, grab Mr. Kelly, and slam them down to the ground and take away the Nighthawk's gun. So I would immobilize or neutralize the situation. I'd be in charge, right? I came up, I put my hands on the table, and I'm looking right into Mr. Kelly's eyes. I didn't say a word. I mean, my eyes were speaking loud and clear. I knew he could read my eyes. My eyes were saying to him, "What did you just do?" He didn't say a word to me, but I could read his eyes. His eyes were saying the same thing to me. "What did you just do?" And the Nighthawk had his hand on his gun, looking at both of us like, "What did either one of y'all just do?" Now, Mary, she was sitting on top of the dresser because there were no more chairs in the room. And she realized what had happened. And she began explaining it to us when it happened again. And what it was, and we all burst out laughing. The ice in the ice bucket next to Mary had begun melting, and the cans of soda were falling down the ice. That was it.
Yeah.
But we were so hyper-focused on each other that we totally forgot about anything over there. So that noise was like, it's like hearing a pin drop in, and it just shocked us. And when we realized what had happened, we all began laughing. There were like two teaching moments. The learning would come later, but these were teaching moments. The learning moments would come later. The first teaching moment would be that we all were human beings in that moment that we heard the noise. Fear is a human emotion. We felt the same emotion. We felt fear of each other because each one of us thought the other person was doing something ominous, had posed a threat to one another, right? I didn't know what he was up to, making some weird noise I couldn't identify. He didn't know what I was up to. Was he under attack? I'm thinking, am I getting ready to be attacked? And so, of course, the bodyguard, it's his job to protect his boss. My job to protect myself and my secretary. So we both felt fear in the same moment over the same thing. That humanized us. As soon as the fear was addressed and quelled, we both felt joy in that same moment. We even laughed at the same thing. We're on opposite sides of the fence, ideologically. He's the head of the Klan. I'm a black guy. But yet we're laughing at the same thing and being relieved over the same thing. Because all it was a damn ice cube melting. Somebody almost got shot over an ice cube, right? I mean, we laugh at it now, but it wasn't funny at the time. I mean, it could have been a real serious thing. So we humanize one another in that we both felt fear. When the fear was addressed, we both felt relief and joy. What I learned, the second thing that I learned is ignorance breeds fear. We fear those things of which we're ignorant, those things we don't understand. All because this foreign entity of which we were ignorant, being the bucket of ice, cans of soda, entered into our little comfort zone at the table via the noise that it made, we became fearful of one another because we didn't know what it was. If that fear is not addressed, that fear will escalate to the next level, which is hatred, because we hate the things that frighten us. If the hatred is not addressed, it in turn escalates into anger. We become angry with the things that we hate, which turns into the next step, destruction. So ignorance breeds fear, fear breeds hatred, hatred breeds destruction. That whole chain almost unfolded to completion Had I pounced across the table and hurt one of them, or had the bodyguard drew his gun and shot one of us, meaning my secretary or me, it stopped just short of that last component, destruction. You did see exactly what I'm talking about on August 12th, 4 years ago, 2017, at that white supremacist rally right down here in Charlottesville. On August 12th, there was a lot of ignorance in Charlottesville. There was a lot of fear in Charlottesville. It escalated to a lot of hatred in Charlottesville all that day. And what did it culminate in? It culminated in destruction when a white supremacist got inside his vehicle and intentionally tried to murder as many counter-protesters as he could by driving that car full force into the crowd. He succeeded in injuring 20 people and murdering one young lady named Heather Heyer with that vehicle. And now he's spending life in prison.